Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to go back through a couple of things I've said in my last couple of podcasts that a few people are kind of questioning and really want a little bit more detail on. So one of the items was when I was talking about the visit that Father Havel and I had at the property back in 2001 from the blind visionary by the name of Linda, who came to tell us what it was that we were supposed to do. And everything she said has come true so far. There's still some things out in the future yet that haven't transpired yet, but it seems the way the world is going right now, I wouldn't doubt that we're right on pace to meet these timelines. And the timeline is the questionable area from the last episode when I mentioned that 2027 would be a pivotal year that she described as being when the church would be fully under attack, and that things would transpire in Rome, and that the church would be in disarray, and that the Pope would end up having to move, which isn't the first time the Pope has had to move throughout the centuries. A lot of people don't realize that the Vatican used to be in France. And, I think it was when the Medicis took over the Vatican, the Medici family, which is typical of cults. They get a power group in there and they keep control. But it was at that time, I think, that they moved everything to Rome for what they considered safety. I think a lot of it was for the good weather, too, because it really isn't proximal to many things. Rome is not the easiest place to travel to from the rest of the European or Mid-Eastern territories. So with that said, 2027, I'm not a big guy on dates. I'm not a big guy on a lot of other things going on around the world. People have heard my thoughts on places like Medjugorje. I think the places like that, through the groups that they are able to gather, creates a bit of a happy hysteria that goes on. It puts people in the right mindset, and that's okay. Is anything going on of a mystical nature? I really don't know. I haven't been a part of that. I can't say. But it is entirely different, the things and events that have been reported there, entirely different from anything that's happened in my life. And, my life isn't the litmus test. Mine is not the baseline for any authority. It's just my experience. So take it for what it is. If you don't like the talk, that's fine. I'm just trying to report to you what happened during that event in 2001. And the only reason I said anything about it now, a full quarter century later, is because the time is coming and I've been witnessing all these other foretold items happening. And one of the things that was completely outrageous, I thought at the time in 2001, was I was told that I would be having to defend myself before the judge. And it was the judge. And that I would consider the judge being God, but there was a series of lower-level judges I had to defend myself in front of them, and that went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. And I didn't have an attorney. No one would represent me, but I was part of a sinister attempt against me and others to devastate the devotion to Our Lady of America for profit and power by a woman who considered herself to be a Catholic nun when she was anything but. So that history is kind of put aside. If you don't like the dates, that's fine. I'm going to be watching carefully too. I hope I'm alive at that time to see what does happen. But all I can say is be prepared. If something was to happen, watch the signs. Be careful about what is going on in the world, because like I've been trying to let people know, the world is going to change, and it's going to change in an instant because of these things. So word's going to get out, stories are going to be portrayed, and a tide is going to turn worldwide because of something that will be transmitted over these devices or other devices at that time, same or similar. And we don't know what will happen, but something's going to happen. And we can, honestly, I think we can all feel that something is changing, and not everybody's in agreement, and that becomes an unsettled situation. So, now one of the other things that especially the men have voiced about is, what's this whole deal with putting women on a pedestal? You know, they have said, well, I work all day, I come home, I don't have time for, trying to fix her, when I need to fix myself. And other things, like, I don't have time for all that, there's too much work to do, and I don't have time for that, or she doesn't listen to me, she never does what I say. All these other things I've gotten back in, or she doesn't seem like she loves me anymore. How can I deal with that? Well, I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm just a guy who's had his own experience in this. And I've also done a lot of thinking on it over the years as to, with my other training from school, the differences between men and women and how they look at the world and how they live in the world. And this affects their interactions with each other. So I'm about to get going here. So for all the ladies out there, you're welcome to leave right now. I suggest if you don't like guy talk, you probably don't want to listen in. But if you're interested, you probably want to stay around because you might get some helpful tips here too. So what does putting a woman on a pedestal mean? Well, it doesn't mean physically putting her up above you, because if you were to do that, the natural thing for a woman to do at that point would be to say, oh, no, you're not leaving me up here alone. You get up here with me, and you raise me up. And you raised me up, I'm going to pull you up. You're not leaving me here alone. So that's one way to go about it. And that's kind of the way that St. Joseph and the Blessed Mother Mary went about their lives. There was this, well, how did Joseph put Mary on a pedestal? Well, he did it by kind and simple actions that took a lot of work, but he did it through acts of kindness where he saw a need that she had, and he worked on his own to fill what was needed to take care of that need. And in Mary's case, she liked to spend a lot of her day in prayer. There was nothing she loved more than God, her Father. And she had known this since she was a child. It was in her structure. It was all she could think about. And that was why when the angel came to tell her about her upcoming birth, she accepted it. Because she says, anything that God requires of me, I'm not going to, I'm paraphrasing, but anything God needs of me, I'll do, which is a pretty good response to have. But Mary wanted a place that was quiet, that she could settle herself throughout the day and take time to pray and be alone with God. So Joseph, and think about the housing back then. What was available to these folks? If you want to see the house is allegedly in Loreto, Italy now. It got moved by the angels to protect it from the marauding Muslims coming in that were destroying things. And so the word has it that the angels came and they picked this house up entirely and moved it to Loreto, Italy for safekeeping. And that was where the hermit of Loreto, Tom Zimmer, was when he bought the brick that put Donald Trump's name into the secret doors of the Vatican during the Holy Year, I think back in 85 maybe, or somewhere in that time. But in that little humble home, if you can take a look at it online, there's not much to it. And this is how these people lived, in this basic, humble structure. Well, as part of this, St. Joseph knew that Mary needed a place that she could be quiet on her own. So he built a little room in this, or off the side of this particular house, just for Mary as a prayer room. Now, when he set about to do that, he put her on a pedestal because he was fulfilling something that she really could use, not necessarily that she required it, but she was able to use it, I believe, to make her prayer life even more positive and strong. So this is kind of what putting a woman on a pedestal means, is taking care of these things without her asking for them, seeing what she requires to be the best that she can be, and to be all that she can be, and help to magnify her. Because in doing that, as a man, when she gets this and she realizes and she sees this beautiful gesture and the work that's put into it, all she can do at that time is be thankful and mindful about what a great guy she has and what a great man. And she will end up praying for you and helping to take care of you in ways that you can't even understand. So putting a woman on a pedestal isn't about saying, oh, baby, you're perfect. There's nothing about you I wouldn't change. There's no, oh, you're just the best, best, best. That's not it. That's bullshit. That's lying to them, because even they know that it's not true. So what you are doing when you put them on a pedestal, you're putting them on the level of your high regard in life. Put them right below God and Jesus, but make that woman of yours, the object of your daily life and your work in life. If you do that, and without being a suck-up, which is easy enough to do, because a lot of guys will say, oh, baby, what do I do? That's not the way to be a man. That's not the way to win her heart, because she's going to see you as weak and, another lie or whatever, an untruth. She's not going to believe it, but she will believe your actions, because, you can't explain it away any other way except that I'm doing this for you because I care, and I care so much, and I want you to know that. And I'm not asking for anything in return, but just be the best you can be. So I believe that's what putting a woman on a pedestal is about, taking care of those things and keeping her in your highest regard throughout the day. Now, St. Joseph did it through the work of the room. There's other times when you get into a situation where you've got a relationship going on, and your woman is just not happy about anything, it seems. Whether she's having a bad time with her work day or friends or relationships, or something got to her, she wrote or she read some Oprah Winfrey book. I mean, I don't know what, got the bug up her ass, and you don't know either. But what you got to know is that something is bothering her. And the only thing that's going to bring her back around, really, is you not moving. You need to stay solid. You need to stay strong in who you are to help her find who she is. And when she gets through with her questioning and her own introspective type of thinking, she's going to come to know that she's got a man right there who just loves the heck out of her. And there's nothing more that she could ever ask for if she would just accept it and take it and work with it and be a part of that. Now, a good example of this was William Shakespeare did a play called The Taming of the Shrew. Now, the shrew is a little mouse-like figure, kind of annoying. And over the years that a shrew has been defined as being an unpleasant person, someone who's combative, wants to argue with you all the time, pretty much like a modern-day Karen. A lot of these men and women, there's male Karens too. They just want to argue about everything. There's nothing that's going to satisfy them. Even complete capitulation to their desires isn't going to be enough, because they'll find something else to trigger, because they're just really unhappy. And in Taming of the Shrew, this man is trying to woo this woman to be his wife, and I believe they do marry in the. I have to go back through it, but I don't know if they. I believe they do get married, but she is just not going to yield to any man's authority. She's not going to yield to him at all, and he would ask for something, and she would bring it to him and then dump it in his lap or something like that, just to be obstructive and saying, "You're not going to control me." So he ends up being more disciplined in his approach, and they have this great talk about, he's looking at the, I don't know if he's looking at the sun or he's looking at the moon, or I forget what it is. I got to go back through. It's been so long. But he's looking at the sky, and somebody says, "Look at that beautiful, blue or green or whatever it is moon." She goes, "It's not, it's white." Well, eventually he keeps saying the same thing, and she understands what he's trying to do. And she realizes through all of his other thoughtful gestures that this man really does love me. And I'm a fool not to understand that and be a part of that. So she ends up yielding and becomes a part of that. She agrees with him when he's trying to say that the moon or whatever is a different color than it really is. And she agrees with him in public. And everyone else kind of looks at him, but they have this quiet little understanding going on between them. And that was a bond of love that happens there. And from that moment on, those two just had this beautiful life together because there became this understanding. And she realized that no man could love me like that, except for God or Jesus. So she got lucky in that regard. So that was an off point, but he stayed steady, and she came around by his actions always being goal-oriented and positive. She realized that, hey, this is a good guy. I got to take care of him. And so where are we at today? Well, we got a lot of things going on. We got a lot of confused guys out there. And all I can say is God has a sense of humor, and you need to get one too. So why do I say that? Well, God made Eve, but he also then made her with certain characteristics that were different than Adam. And one of these is there's a maternal instinct in a vein that runs through women. Thank heaven for that. Because without that, men would have destroyed themselves and children would die by the dozens every day if we didn't have moms in the world. So God has a sense of humor. So why do I say that? Well, women want to be on a pedestal, as I'd said. But they also need to feel like they have something to change in you. They always look at men when they're dating them. He chews with his mouth open, or he has all these other things. I like him, but he does this or he does that. But they're going to change them. Well, it's kind of hard to change a man in his habits. They can try, and the frustration builds up if they're not successful with it. But what usually ends up happening in most of the successful situations is these women who have this great drive to try to change the men to be this perfect little Ken doll that they grew up with, that they come to realize in time that by trying to change him, they're wasting all their energy when it's just so much easier if they just change themselves a little bit. And when they do that, what happens? Well, 9 times out of 10, the man changes along with them. Because if you don't change the force and the message coming at you all the time, sometimes change it up a little bit and you'll get a different answer. And that's what happens a lot of times when women realize that if they want to change a man, sometimes one of the easiest things to do is just to change a simple thing in themselves. I'm not talking about your hair color or these things or losing weight, but it's how you go about your relationship with him. And when he does something, when a guy tries to lift you on a pedestal and he's doing yard work, without being reminded of things, or taking care of the garbage, or doing things with the kids that needed to be done or hadn't been done, taking a special day. These are all ways that men can put women on a pedestal by just doing the things that need to be done. And women can come around when they see all this and they change themselves a little bit. Men will want to do more of it. So men are really pretty simple to deal with if you just learn how to work the controls a little bit. We're not that smart. So, but we are pretty base in our needs. You know, we don't have higher tastes like women do in a lot of things. We're pretty basic. We're pretty happy with a little bit of downtime and a little bit of quiet and a little bit of that peace that comes from being together. And the more you take care of these other things, the more you're going to get these things that you really want in your pedestal. This another note to the women there. But for the guys, you know, just try it. Dial it back a little bit. Make sure that you put the same amount of energy into your relationship and the way when you walk in the door, when you meet them for the first time each day or whatever, after coming home from work or whatever it is you do, that you're coming in with the same kind of enthusiasm and energy that you did when you were dating. You know, take them back a little bit. You know, be genuine, be special to them. You know, try to tell them, hey, I thought about you today, and you know, it made me laugh, and we were doing this and doing that. These are things that women respond to quite directly. But guys don't know that because, you know, we're basically dumbasses, and we'll figure it out in time. But women are always wanting to change things. That's their maternal instincts. They want to grow things. They want to nurture things. They want to make things better. That's why they plant flowers. You know, it's they're into the beauty. They're into making things better, and that's a God-inspired element. Like I always say, God builds, God creates, the devil destroys. So keep those destructive influences out of your life and out of your thinking when you're thinking about your relationship with your wife or your special other and people around you, the women in your lives. You know, put them all on pedestals. You know, it's of high regard, and watch to see if they don't kind of change and come back around. It's just you know, little beautiful things. You know, I'm not saying you got to bring them candy and stuff like this and presents and stuff like that. It doesn't hurt, but that's not really what they're after. They're after the simple things. You know, they're after you. If she drops something on the floor, that you come along and you pick it up. You know, just let me help you, and these types of things. Or she comes home and she's been shopping. You know, go to the car, unload the car for her, bring it all in. She's tired. You know, you haul that stuff in. Help her out. You know, be that guy. It's not woman's work. It's work. So with that, I want you to think about that and come back with any more good questions for me, and I'll try to think them through. So I'm trying to do this kind of without a script and a couple little notes here. I'm probably leaving a lot of good stuff out. But, you know, men and women together can do great things. So let's not mess it up. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.